I'm tremendously honored to have been asked to serve in a leadership position. I love this university, and so it's great to be able to give back a little bit. Secondly, I am privileged to work with this athletics department. My title is Champion of Athletics, and I can't think of anything that makes me more proud.
You know, after my family, and that would be my blood family, and then my family that I work with, all the people that I've been able to work with, and my faith, I think Emporia and Emporia State are probably mean more to me than about anything. And I'm pretty invested in the future of this community, and I understand, as a lot of people understand, that Emporia State University and the city of Emporia are pretty much joined at the hip. So success of one means success of the other, and so this is a great way to give back to my community and to my school, and have an involvement that I'm really pleased to be able to take advantage of. I was really honored to be asked to be the champion. I consider it a great honor, and it's a good job. It's a big job, but I'll promise you, I'm having a blast working with Shane Shively and
Sure.
Carol Cooper and Kent Weiser and all the coaches and everything, and we're off to a great start. We're having a lot of success. But you know, Dave, before I agreed to do that, I wanted to know a little bit more about the athletic department, and it was a pretty good deal because President Shonrock, new President Shonrock, kind of had the same question, and so he enlisted the help of a consultant out of Atlanta, and they came in and spent quite a bit of time here, and they've turned out quite a report. And what I learned from that report was that we have a great product. Athletics at Emporia State does very, very well. If you go to that consultant's report, and if you use the athletic director's cup as a barometer or as a measuring stick, Emporia State, out of the 15 teams in the MIAA over the last 7 years, has had the third best record in the athletic director's cup. That's awesome. And when you pair that with the fact that if you look at funding, we're 14th out of 15. Emporia State is next to the bottom in funding. We're a full $1.5 million below the curve, below the average of what other people in the MIAA spend for funding for athletics. We actually, at Emporia State, they actually are making wine out of water. There's a culture of doing more with less.
Right.
Coaches know when they come here they have to do. Well, that's all fine and good, and we're getting along. We're having a lot of success with that, but it's not going to continue. It's crazy to think it can continue, and so we've got to find a way to increase funding for athletics, and so that was the challenge, and that's what we're doing. And as I said before, we're off to a good start. My dad met a character named Joe Cannon, and a lot of people remember Joe Cannon. I don't think Joe Cannon ever went to school at Emporia State either, but he was a businessman here in Emporia, and they met on the Presbyterian Manor fund drive to build the Presbyterian Manor. And after that, I don't think my dad was involved with the university, but Joe was, and so Joe came up with an idea. They were looking for someone to make the lead gift for the Alumni Center. My mom had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it wasn't long. She ended up spending the last 13 years of her life in the Presbyterian Manor. But anyway, Joe Cannon, and his no one could match him, and he said one day to my dad, he said, "Earl, why don't you make that lead gift for this Alumni Center and do it in honor of Stella Louise?" And my dad thought that was a pretty good idea. My dad and the athletic department created a bond that you just can't believe. And Larry Kramer was probably the ringleader in all that, the football coach. I know my dad used to call him up and say, "Hey, when you guys get off practice, bring your coaches and come over and have a beer." And so they became friends, and then he got to know the basketball coaches and the track coach, and he liked to do things for them, and he liked the attention of the athletes. And what's crazy about this is my dad wasn't an athlete. He didn't have an athletic bone in his body. I love to tell the story about my dad. He'd go to the basketball games, and it'd be a basketball game, and maybe we'd lose by 2 points, and maybe we'd missed a dozen free throws. He said, "How can that be so hard? They don't even guard them." I'll go to where my dad was considering making his last gift, which created the Earl Sauder Scholars, the athletic scholars, and it was $1 million gift, and so it was a big gift. And I'm promoting this with my dad, and he says, "Well, what do you think your brothers and sisters will think about this?" And I said, "Well, I'll talk to them, and then let's all talk." Well, you know what my brother and sister and I concluded was that Emporia State, in general, athletics maybe in particular, had probably extended my dad's life by 10 years. Now let me explain that. I said before, my mom had Alzheimer's disease. She was 13 years at Presbyterian Manor before she passed away. But we think my dad's love affair with the university and the university's love affair in return, it gave him something to concentrate on besides these problems. And so that's the best story I can tell. Funding for athletics comes from three places. About a third of it comes from the school, comes from the budget the school gets, and that's money they get from the state. Well, you don't have to be real, you don't have to be real observant to know that isn't going to increase, and it may decrease. About a third of it comes from student fees. So that's tied to students. And the best thing we have going there is new President Michael Schonrock. I guess I'm going to have to quit calling him new here before long. But he understands we need students. And 1,000 more students will make a terrific difference in athletic funding. It won't solve the problem, but it will certainly help. And then the third part of it is what they call promotional money, money that's raised from ticket sales, from contributions, from promotions that the athletic department does. And they do a great job of it. But we're going to have to step up and do that. And if we're going to, if what's going on is going to continue to go on, then we have to push that budget up. We've got to push it up, and our goal is to get it up $500,000 this first year, and hopefully maybe fill that gap of $1.5 million. And that's money that's spendable. That's money that can be used for scholarships, and that's the need, and that's the challenge. My dad used to, his favorite saying, and he loved to raise money. He loved to work for the United Way. He loved to go to people and ask them. And he'd tell them, they'd say, oh, I'm hurting, I can't. He said, I don't want you to give till it hurts. I want you to give till it feels good.
Sure.
And that's what he did, and we've kind of learned from that. And I've said that to a lot of people in this campaign, because it does make you feel good to help. And obviously this is a situation, a need, where we really need the help. Emporia State University can be a successful school without athletics. It's just a lot easier if you have athletics. And guess what? It feels a lot better to be 10-2 in football. It feels a lot better to be at the Elite Eight in basketball, or to be in the World Series in baseball or softball, to have those successes. And that's why we have to do this, because it costs money to be good. And if we do that, then we help the university as a whole be successful. And if we're going to get to the finish line, and believe me, I'm excited, because I think we're well on our way. We got great leadership. Everything's in place. And we just want to do our part on this side of the house. And so that's what it's all about.